Go about preparing, Marina, in Pakistan, getting ready for those extra bouncy conditions?
It's even difficult for someone coming from subcontinent because there are low wickets. It stays low, and our initial movement or the trigger movement is always coming onto front foot first, and it's very difficult to maneuver the pace and bounce coming, especially when you travel to New Zealand and Australia, even to South Africa. So there are two ways to go about it. First one is the bowling machine. You can set up a nice back shot of the length and try someone to feed that, and you play your shots. But again, the most important thing is you need to learn to cover the line and also judge the bounce. Whether you can pull it or hook it or cut it or just leave it, that's important. Second thing that I used to do, especially coming to Australia, facing someone like Elise Perry, I think I did was to get that slab. And that actually helped me a lot with judging the bounce off a very good pace. Though that actually allows you very little time to react. I think these are the two practices you can accumulate in your daily routine.
Excellent fielding of backward point, definite run saved. Well, he may have made 147 not out with the bat, but he still got the energy to leap around the field. Maybe a touch of cramp as well. This was excellent. Athletic diving stop across to his left. Don't make the 100 and just give it up. You've still got work to do. That will also, what you're describing there, Marina, give you a sense of the challenge for Nepal, certainly historically, and many of the associate sides. Monty Desai, the senior head coach, who was very vocal after that qualifier. Nicely bowled, play and a miss, about the fact that a year ago Nepal only had one bowling machine in the entire country. Now that's starting to change. There's facilities popping up all over. Dangadi, Lumbini, Pokhara, Biratnagar down out in the far west as well. And Barawa as well. Beautiful grounds surrounded by mountains, but they're also getting the cricketing facilities now. The likes of the bowling machines, more and more nets, more and more turf wickets being developed, many with overseas assistance too. Those facilities are so critical to being able to develop your game, and then when you go away from home, find a way to be competitive.
Yeah, I do understand that, but if someone doesn't have an access to a bowling machine or a slab, the easiest way you can do is buy a sidearm and get your mate going in. A bit of confusion there, no worries for Nepal. And you can ask your mate to learn how to use that. These are the basic things you should be having in your kit bag if you want to be sustainably performing at international level. And I think one important thing I would like to mention is you don't need to feel threatened or intimidated by the short ball. Get that out of your mind. 2 overs gone, 1 for 1 Nepal.
Really tall task here for Nepal, facing up against an excellent Kiwi side back into under-19 Cricket World Cup action. There is talent in this lineup. They do bat all the way down to Bandari at number 9. I think the first port first, a little bit like we spoke about yesterday. They'll just want to make sure they get themselves into the contest. They did that brilliantly outside of the first power play when they bowled. You can't win a contest in the first power play, but you can lose it. And they have to find a way to stay alive here. Keep it at 1 wicket down, ideally. Start to accumulate some runs. But New Zealand have already been red hot in the field and very accurate with their bowling to start. Just as I say that, a wide comes, but this tall young fast bowler, he's just 16 years of age, looks to have a very impressive strong action.
Yeah, he's got all the basics right. He's got good momentum. Obviously, as he grows, he will work out and he'll get all those muscles in to get some more pace, so more longevity in his bowling. But when you look at it with the naked eye, it clicks all the boxes. Getting some good bounce off it.
Looks like there's going to be a tactic from New Zealand to continue to hammer away back of a length, and sometimes even shorter than that. He's got a Nice strong action. Joins two other 16-year-old debutants for New Zealand in the Under-19 World Cup. That's very impressive. Rachin Ravindra and Finn Allen also both debuted at 16. He'll be eligible in 2 years' time too. Looks like it's a repeatable action, something that won't have too many challenges with it.
Yeah, very safe action indeed. Mason Clark, it's nice and easy. You can see the approach. He's got both his hands moving. That's very important to gain that momentum. And have a look at that, the front arm. That's very important, to extend it and then lock it. You can see the momentum going through. Front on action, no worries there. And as he grows, he's built some more lower body. He will get and generate more pace.
Nicely driven. Gets onto the front foot and is going to get, well, very nearly the full reward of a boundary 4. Instead, he'll pick up 3. Excellent fielding. Well, New Zealand are already outpointing Nepal in that department. They have been red hot to start with.
And that was a good-looking shot. Just using the pace. That stack pole, now brilliant effort. We've seen Nepal do that for a fair amount of time. But New Zealanders, they're up to set up the standard here. Brilliant save.
There's a shade of Brendan McCullum about that, isn't there? Do you remember the Superman in the 2015 World Cup? He seemed to be quicker than the ball itself before throwing himself without any care or attention into the boundary hoardings. Every run saved. There is that short ball. What is that fear factor of the short ball? It's just simply the fear of being hit.
Yeah, that's the first one that comes to your mind, because you don't really expect a ball coming that into your body, and obviously it takes time to adjust to that. But obviously you need to cover that. You see, he took away his eyes. He was never looking at it. So that is the first thing. You don't want to do it. And you overcome your fears like any other in your daily life. You master it. You practice against it. And don't feel threatened about it. If you practice enough, if you understand what things you can do, you can pull that away. 3 overs gone, 5 for 1.
Well, you lose your fear of anything with exposure to it. What about the Indian Ocean? Are you going to be getting into that while you're here?
Oh, I was up there. I wanted to go there, but you guys, and especially Kevin, you actually talked me out of it, saying that sharks are very dangerous and that's the only dive I can do. But still, I'm leaning towards it. I want to try that.
I had a paddle. I think a paddle's probably generous. I got in up to about my calves. I'm not getting into that shark tank with you, Marina. Beautiful part of the world, though.
Live your life. Live your life. Come on, you need to live your life. This is an adventure of a lifetime. Get out of your fears. Face your fears. Come on.
Well, Table Mountain's a famous thing here in South Africa. That's down in the Western Cape. We're in the Eastern Cape here in East London. I've no fear of heights. I just don't want to get into a cage with a shark. I've climbed up Table Mountain. This is edged away. It's gone quite wide of third man, and the outfield's quick. It'll be the first boundary. I think, in fairness to Kamal, he's played for this. He just guided it away. Yes, a bit edgy, but he'll take it. His first boundary.
Again, you can see just staying square up. He's not covering the line, but this time he did manage to get some bat on it. He's just opening the face of the bat, utilizing the pace. I think there is probably, no, it's not a no ball. Seemed like that.
Is it a no ball or not? For Forster Mutizwa, just wanting to make sure the boundary correctly signaled and picked up by the scorers. Always have to ensure as an umpire that the scorers signal back to you so that they know that the score is correct. Spot on the money. Umpires have been excellent the first day and a half here in East London.
Red on.
You think of the difficulty of stepping up a level for all of the associates. There's 4 associate sides here in South Africa at this tournament. So for the likes of Nepal, for Namibia, for USA, it is a jump. It's a jump up to play the full member nations. They don't just tend to have more players, they tend to have more facilities. They tend to obviously have more infrastructure, more resources to work from. That is very, very stylish. It's a square drive of the highest quality, 4 from the moment it made contact with the bat.
That's a gorgeous shot. Just staying on he's got a solid base, and look at those swift hands. Lovely. As easy as you can like. No worries there. Just angling it, holding the pose for it, trying to get that ball through the gap, threading a needle. That was a class act by Kunal. Right on.
From my experience of associate cricket, there's no doubt that all these young men and women can play. It's just a case of getting that exposure against consistently better cricketers. You'll get less bad balls from the full member nations. But when you get that exposure, you start to believe, don't you? And you can see he's almost growing in stature out there as he's hit these 2 boundaries in this over.
And in particularly when you do well against them, that's where the confidence boost comes. When we were talking earlier, I think the statement Nepal made, they took early 3 wickets, and that obviously gave them a huge momentum. I also feel that even playing against good opposition, that can be a very good learning curve for them, because they do realize that what sort of requirements they still need to do. 4 overs gone, 14 for 1, Nepal.
And for Nepal, they don't play as much as some of the bigger nations in terms of international youth cricket. They play an awful lot domestically, but it's that exposure up the level. They did have the benefit of the Under-19 Asia Cup in Dubai. They were in a, you call it a group of death here, it was a group of death there. Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, and then Nepal as well. And in that Under-19 Asia Cup that took place just last month, they may have gone without a victory, but there were certainly some signs, particularly in the game against Afghanistan, where they bowled Afghanistan out for 261. You just sense that maybe that's their opportunity in this group. Afghanistan on the back end of a very heavy defeat yesterday. So even if Nepal can't win today, if they can take an awful lot away from particularly this batting innings, I think that will be critical for the rest of the group for them.
Yeah, definitely. They can trust their potential. And as I mentioned, just the exposure against better oppositions gives you a lot to learn. It opens up an avenue for the individual players to understand where their strengths and weaknesses lie.
And certainly the way that the new format of this tournament works, there's 4 groups of 4 again. Now, in previous years in the competition, the top 2 simply went through to the quarterfinals of the main Super League competition, and then the bottom 2 went through to the plate. This year there's been a twist, and I really like the twist. The top 3 go through the group to the Super 6, and you carry your points through only against the teams that have qualified. So your game against the 4th place finisher is discarded. So step number 1 is getting through the group, finishing in the top 3. But also trying to keep your net run rate close. So even if you do go down to defeat today, Nepal, you want to make that margin of defeat as narrow as possible. Scotland, the other associate, of the 4 that are here, joining the 12 full member nations. And then you'll play 2 Super 6 games. In Group D's case, they'll match up against Group A, and then B and C will go together. Another good piece of fielding. We'll get through for a single, but it means in this format, Marina, every game is critical.
It actually keeps up on your toes, because you cannot afford to lose any game. You need to keep an eye on your net run rate as well. And obviously it's some motivation for the teams.
And that's where Afghanistan in this group are in real trouble after just one game. It might sound ridiculous, but if you go down to a defeat, so be it. But 181-run defeat's a big one. What about this?
Yeah, he's starting outside of the boundary, and that is the game awareness, because he understands the wind is flying this side, so the ball will definitely carry way further. That is something for the Nepal fielders to learn, and even the young ones. If you are standing from where the wind is blowing, you need to stand not just closer to the boundary, or probably start outside of the boundary, few steps. But remember, you have to walk back in before the ball delivers. 5 overs gone, 16 for 1 Nepal.
You're spot on, because what did we see? 3, maybe 4 balls hit up towards the very edge of the boundary rope. And I'm not saying they were easy chances to catch for Nepal. They were very difficult, particularly with the strength of that wind. But if you don't set your feet and get your mark kind of right inside the rope, you're not giving yourself the best chance. And I think those drop catches were awfully costly for Nepal. The drops may well have been the difference between what's ended up as 302 on the board for New Zealand, maybe 250, 260. And Nepal, they pride themselves in their fielding. Their ground field in the hole was actually pretty good. Just their catching, particularly in the deep, it was very, very costly.
Yeah, they just couldn't really judge what they can do to counter that wind. Reddy was dropped 4 times. Probably not drop, I would say half chances. But you could really understand what they would be doing. The wind, you can counter it by taking few steps outside of the boundary and ending at the very edge of the skirtings.
He'd actually got to the 100 landmark before he was dropped, and then he really started playing his shots. What an innings it was.
Good
Special talent. Amazing to think just 17. That shot was kind of the marker that set things up to then start to play the aggressive role. 17 boundaries in total. I'm gonna have to ask him about that celebration, a bit of Jadeja. And then a bow. Nothing wrong with a bow, is there? The bow's gone out of things. Thank you to the crowd. Maybe that was a thanks to his mum and dad who are here.
Also, thank you for the opportunity. I take it, and I prove myself in the middle.
We think, hopefully we're right, that we've got Dev Reddy's parents there in shot. How proud will they be? What a moment. You always remember your mum and dad. They're the ones who drive you to the training sessions. They bring you down to the club. And what a moment, straight up towards his mum and dad. And a moment that the Dev Reddy family will never forget. Very special. Nepal just showing some signs they're getting more and more comfortable with this adjustment in pace and bounce.
Yeah, I think they are adjusting to the pace of the surface. But again, I would prefer, especially Kunal, to cover the line, because when you don't do that, you stay square on. You hardly can move your feet, and you hardly can read that swing. So just a bit of better learning as a batter against swing bowling.
Leading edge, squares him up. Good bowling from Rowe. Well, there's been some great names in the history of New Zealand Under-19 Cricket World Cup. Leading scores, James Marshall. Good international career alongside his brother Hamish. B.J. Watling, what a test cricketer he was. At the top of the list, Jacob Bula, making that 180 against Kenya in 2018. Dev Reddy. This could be a chance. And what a take. Oh, that is marvellous. He's made 15, 20 yards sprinting in. New Zealand inspired Stackpole. I think he's pulled off a beauty.
We saw him earlier in the action where he saved a certain boundary, but this time that was a magnificent catch. Full sprint on. He knew where the ball was landing. He knew how to judge it. And a full-blooded drive, a wild swing, trying to work it into the offside. Onside, I beg your pardon, but have a look at that. Oh, that is unbelievable. That's the standard. New Zealand sets.
It is Lachlan Stackpole. Get his name up in lights here in East London. That is a specky. Stackpole, take a bow. Tripathi's gone for 2. It's 18 for 2. Here comes the skipper, Dev Canal. His team are in really a world of bother right now. 18 for 2, needing more than a run of ball. Captain, who's not really been in great form in recent times with the bats. He's captained very nicely. He's going to need something special. He's played 10 ODIs at the senior level, all in Cricket World Cup League 2 with 250s. And he was also part of that Nepal senior team that actually played at the ACC Emerging Teams Cup in Colombo last July, where he played against an incredibly strong Indian A side full of IPL talent. So does have experience up the grades, but his last 7 innings, his highest score is just 24. So by Nepal standards, he's very tall. He's a very stylish, languid player. And he likes to drive the ball in particular. But Nepal have it all to do from here. Freshens him up with a bouncer. Well, Stackpole, how good was this?
Well, that's brilliant. A wild swing was nowhere, just trying to slash it into the leg side, but have a look at that. That is brilliant. Few inches from the ground, he grabs it. That is a special set of skill, and normally it's said about fielding, if you have the intention to catch it, you're halfway already there.
Yeah, look at Glenn Bliss too. He's in action again. Ball back down to Stackpole. End of the 6th over. Canal gets off the mark. 19 for 2. This is real time. The brilliance of this catch isn't just getting to the ball and then holding on to the catch with your hands. It's when you make the impact of the elbows on the ground for it to stay in there. Well, you think of New Zealand greats in the field, you think of Mitchell Santner, you think of Brendan McCullum. That was as good as any of them. Finn Allen, Glenn Phillips, he might be the best of the lot. Stackpole, what a beauty.
Leg. Middle.
It's all about the intent. Just wanting to create those unbelievable chances, turning them into catches. Brilliant.
Final thing about that catch I just want to touch on is the batter was trying to hit it to leg. Glorious. One of the shots of the day from either innings, and I absolutely mean that. Dev Canal right on top of the bounce. He's hit that as it's on the up. Through the covers where he loves it. 4 to him.
My gosh, the sound of it. Stand and deliver through the line. Oh, hold the pose that. It's a beautiful transfer of the weight. High elbow, full face of the bat. Just utilizing that pace on offer. Glorious.
White ball.
It's going to have to ball that again. It's very important to keep those elbows high. That's where actually the direction of your bat ends up. If you tend to lock your elbows in or bring your forearms in, you might lose the shape. It's very important to keep the face of the bat extended and delay that pull of the bat as late as you can.
He loves it through the offside. He's very languid in the way he drives, and when you come up against extra pace like Nepal are here, you can be quite economical with your foot movement, which he is, but it's the head position that I like. And then, as you said, the high elbow. There it is. I think you might know where the cameraman is as well. That one can be framed up for him. Beautiful stroke.
That's a lovely frame there, right there. Look at the extension of the hands, the elbows. Well done, guy. Full marks to you.
I think, for me, one of the things I adore about the Under-19 Cricket World Cup is just bringing these players all together from such different parts of the world. We're talking about a nation up in the Himalayas here, taking on one from East Asia Pacific down in the very southeast corner of the world. Play their cricket in very different ways. You think of New Zealand cricket, you think of big, tall, strong, fast bowlers, very athletic nation, physically very strong, against a Nepali side that's full of spin bowlers. They come together in a country they've probably never traveled to before, in front of tens of millions around the world. Such great exposure for these young future stars, and very much their first steps into what could well be lengthy careers in cricket.
Yeah, it's just the beginning for many of them. And again, the thing I like about them, they all are sorted in many ways. They do understand the importance of fitness, fielding, technique at such a young age.
Well, a bit of invention. It's not out of the middle of the bat, but this is something that Kumal likes to do. We saw him do it in that Asia Cup against Afghanistan. He uppercuts quite a lot. He'll even ramp. And again, this is part of the learning process for Nepal. With the exception of Dev Kanal and Gulshan Jah, the majority of their team are quite short. So you have to be used to finding a way to play the short ball. Sachin Tendulkar was short. He found a way.
But just see how comfortable he is in playing that shot. He's not at all intimidated by that bounce. He kept his eye till the last moment. Probably he saw the ball coming onto his bat and just guided it over the infield.
End of the 7th over, and Nepal 27 for 2. Well, plenty of batting to come for Nepal. During a break off commentary, and remarkably, there's a group to 15 Nepalis living here in East London. And they're here, and 12 to 15, apart from the kids that are in the back of the box there enjoying some food, all of them are doctors in the local hospital here. Amazing story from all different parts of Nepal. They've emigrated down here. The gentleman in the middle has been here for the best part of 40 years.